integration dream. Before we begin, we'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen, there are multiple application widgets you can use. All the widgets are resizable and movable, so feel free to move them around to get the most out of your console space. You can expand your slide area or maximize it to full screen by clicking on the arrows in the top right corner of the slide area. Today's presentation consists of slides and a screen share. For an optimal viewing experience, please ensure that you have checked system requirements along with bandwidth considerations. Webinars are bandwidth intensive, so closing any unnecessary browser tabs will help conserve your bandwidth. If you have any technical difficulties, please click on the help link located via the question mark widget at the bottom left of your screen. There you'll find details about system requirements and frequently asked questions. If you experience a blank screen during the webcast, please try refreshing your browser or pressing F5. If you have any questions during the webcast, you can submit them through the Q&A widget. We will try to answer these during the webcast, but if a more complete answer is needed, or if we run out of time, we will reach out directly. Also, notice the Learn More widget. Here we've added links to 2 recently published white papers that correlate with today's presentation, as well as a copy of today's slide presentation. In addition, we have also included a link to the next webcast in our Did You Know series on March 22nd, the Compuware Path to True Mainframe Agility, how the Compuware Topaz suite of mainframe development and testing tools enable agility for significant improvements in productivity. We also encourage everyone to fill out our survey before the end of today's presentation, and by submitting your response, you will automatically be entered to win a $50 American Express gift card. We're going to select 3 lucky winners from today's respondents, so please remember to fill out that short survey. We are extremely pleased to have as our speakers today Compuware Solution Consultant Greg Lackey and Account Consultant Richard Tardif. We also have Product Manager Steve Kanza assisting with questions, so please make sure to submit your questions via the Q&A widget. With that, I'd now like to welcome and hand things over to Richard.
Good day, everyone. My name is Richard Tardif. I'm the Account Consultant based out of Canada. Today we're going to talk about the ISPW and Jenkins integration. We're going to have a couple of slides just to explain to you where we came from, and then we'll have a demonstration of the product that we talked about. At Compuware, we lead by example. We put our money where our mouth is and actually live the practice that we preach. We innovate in 3 different ways: technology, acquisitions, and integrations. Compuware shows the proof of what we've done every quarter like clockwork. We deliver new innovation, we are strategic and logical in our delivery, and we make sure this is balanced. We will demonstrate with our continuous delivery the value and benefits our customer reap. We have added plugins with Jenkins, and the Compuware ISPW operations plugin, to describe one, allows Jenkins users to execute ISPW operations such as generate, promote, deploy, and regress on the mainframe. Therefore, users can seamlessly integrate ISPW build process with Jenkins. What is DevOps toolchain? Toolchains document the tools and their usage flow to support system and software delivery methods and process. Why toolchains are important? They help people understand the relationship between supporting tools and process for system delivery. They are also used to define standards for tool usage in a software delivery pipeline. How Compuware can be incorporated in a DevOps tools change. Compuware provides tools and capabilities to support mainframe targeted software delivery. These tools can be integrated with other tools and capabilities with the enterprise software delivery lifecycle. This reduces redundancy and its associated cost for organizational software delivery. What is Compuware's strategy in creating products that fit into this DevOps tool chain? We are focused on providing the best tools for the mainframe software delivery and monitoring. We believe this maniacal focus provides great performance-centric software development capabilities for our clients. We also work hard to make integration with other market-leading cross-platform technologies simple and easy. This focus on mainframe software delivery capabilities, combined with simple integration with other leading software delivery technologies, reduces the risk and costs and helps our clients evolve their enterprise software delivery ecosystem faster. This software delivery evolution allows organizations to do more with less. ISPW REST API, what is REST? It stands for Representational State Transfer. Essentially means it's intended to transfer a representation of server data between a client and a server. REST use simple HTTP protocol commands. Why are they better? Well, because they are dramatically simpler. They are just how it is done now. That's the default standard. We don't care really where the product, we just want the data, we just want to initiate an action in your product. So we now will demonstrate using Jenkins orchestration how we can promote build code using REST APIs using Compuware ISPW. You can run unit tests and collect quality metrics using Compuware Topaz for total tests. You can trigger analysis and check quality gate with SonarSource continuous inspection practice. Finally, deploy to production with REST API using, again, Compuware ISPW and Excel release. So now we'll have Greg Lackey showing you how this is done.
Thank you, Richard. As Richard said, we're very excited about the integration that Compuware has introduced with our DevOps partners. We are adding partners every quarterly release, and we are adding the plugins and integration points to our products as well. And today you're going to see how we can seamlessly integrate ISPW, which is our SCM product, which you can see on the screen now, with Jenkins and a couple of other DevOps tools as well that we'll be mentioning shortly. This is ISPW, and it is our SCM tool that allows developers to do Agile and who have a DevOps architecture to conform to those and migrate their code and components from testing environments and development environments to production. So in this example, we are seeing ISPW main screen where I have a repository on the left where I can show different components. I have different assignments that a developer may have to work on different groupings of elements. And those assignments can even be combined into release containers and be managed by a release coordinator. But if I open an assignment, a couple of things I want to bring to your attention is the visualization that the Eclipse interface gives you. I can immediately see when I open up an assignment and click on an element where that element is within the release cycle. And if I click on any of the components over in my repository, you can see that those are reflected immediately as well. So this allows a developer to quickly and easily see if the code that they're going to be working on is also being worked out on by someone else, another developer in another release path. And then once we pull those, I'm going to pull these two elements, which is a COBOL program and a JCL. I'm going to select both of those, and I'm going to say add to my assignment with checkout. So with ISPW, we could, as developers, do our release cycle in the manual way through ISPW and through the Eclipse interface. I can do things like generate or compile code. I can do things like promote to another level and have ISPW automatically handle deployments and generations behind the scene. I can do compare merges when multiple versions of code are being worked on. And you can see a variety of those commands just by right-clicking. And that's one of the nice things about it is right-click anywhere and you can figure out how it works. So ease of use and visualization is critical in our new offerings to make it easier for our customers to use the products. But what about those customers who don't want to do it in a manual fashion? They have continuous integration tools, and they may also have pipeline management tools and quality tools that they want to integrate with and automate the process. Well, we've made it really easy by putting in those REST APIs that Richard described earlier. And today, we're going to see an example of, okay, this developer has pulled back these two modules, he's made some changes to them in development, and now he's ready for to hand it over to a Jenkins pipeline or maybe another tool. So in our example, I'm going to switch over to my Jenkins screen, and I have a pipeline that I've developed that will do a number of operations and automate those. And it's important to note that ISPW could also initiate and kick off this pipeline using webhooks. It's not in our demonstration today. We're going to kick it off manually, but it could be done that way. So in our Jenkins pipeline, and you can see I have a number of runs, past runs that are tracked, we're going to do a number of things. We're going to handle a generate using our API. We're going to promote the code up to the next level. We're going to get the code and move it down for analysis. And we're going to run a total test. Now, what is total test? Total test is also one of our Topaz products that allows customers to do unit testing. And the components that we use for total test can also be managed by ISPW. What does that give me? Well, we can migrate the total test up through the release cycle along with our components to run specific tests for each level. We're very excited about that as well. It's one of our newest offerings and a very robust total unit testing feature. And then we're going to go and pass the code to SonarQube. And many of you may use or know about SonarQube, but we're going to use SonarQube Quality Gate to check to see if the code changes meet the industry standards or the standards that have been defined by my organization in the Quality Gate. And then, as a bonus, we're going to pass the code off to another partner of ours in DevOps toolchain, Exebia Labs. We're going to pass it to Exebia Labs Release, and that is a robust pipeline management tool that automates and orchestrates and gives visibility into release pipelines. So we're going to show you how all that works. And now I'm going to kick off my pipeline with a build now. We're going to come down and watch as our pipeline progresses. And again, our first step is to generate the programs or do a compile of the changes that have been done by the developer in the development environment. And then once that compile is done, you can see that we're getting notifications, and we could click on this link and see the exact outcomes and compile listings directly from the source code. And then we can come back into ISPW and we can see as this code progresses up through the environments as well. And going back to my if I go back to my pipeline, I can see that we're now getting the code for our automated analysis. And the way this is designed in our pipeline today is we're going to do our SonarQube, run our total test, do our SonarQube analysis, and we're going to check it against the quality gate. If it fails that quality gate, we're going to automatically call an API that will regress that code back to development so that the developer can correct those quality gate issues. So now we're currently running our unit test for total test. And again, I can jump back and forth between ISPW and my pipeline to see the progression that is made with the pipeline process. Now we're initiating our SonarQube analysis, so we're running the code changes through SonarQube to see if they meet the quality gate in the next step. Once that code is downloaded and analyzed by SonarQube, we do a quick check of the return of the quality gate. And we can see now, once we do the quality gate check, that we failed. So if I want to now see, I can click on the failure, look at the log, and I can quickly see that the pipeline was aborted due to a quality gate failure. So then, as a developer, I can say, hey, what happened with my quality gate? I can jump over to Sonar, and I can click on my bugs. I can see all the different bugs that were encountered in the problem. I can see which ones were critical. I can do a number of actions to change it from a blocker not to a blocker and to address these bugs or go back to my code and make changes. In my example, I have another quality gate set up that's a little more lenient. So I'm just going to switch to that quality gate. I'm going to jump back over to my Jenkins script now that I've picked a more lenient quality gate, and I'm going to kick off my build once again. Now, we also want to go back to Topaz and click on the refresh to see that the code was automatically regressed back to development, and you can see the last operation was a regress. So when that quality gate failed, Jenkins called the API to regress that code back to development so that the programmer could make changes to their code. Now when I come down and see our script, now while this is executing again, I want to point out, what's the big deal with the plugin? What does that get me? Well, if I go into my configuration, I can see the plugins that we supply for Jenkins pretty easily by clicking Configure, Pipeline Syntax, coming down to ISPW Operations, and I can see the variety of REST APIs that are available that we have plugins for and that the plugin works for. So the plugin basically will give me an easy-to-use prompting to complete parameters for easy implementation of those APIs. Now, I don't have to have a plugin, so we would integrate with other DevOps tools that we don't mention as quote-unquote partners. They are very straightforward and easy to call, so you're not limited to a specific tool. Now, as that pipeline now proceeds, I can then go back to ISPW. I can see that my promotion, once again, is occurring between the different levels by my pipeline. And then I will see that my functional test will be run again using total test. And then I'll see when my Sonar Cube analysis occurs this time that our quality gate, this time being a more lenient quality gate, should pass and complete our Jenkins pipeline. Once that quality check completes, then we've configured our pipeline to trigger a Exebia Labs release project. And as you will see in our pipeline through ease of use, that we're going to automatically, when I click on that and click on logs, we give you a link directly into Exebia Labs. And when I click on that, it takes me directly to that project that was created as a result of my Jenkins pipeline. Now I can see that Exebia Labs pipeline management tool is taking over, and that my code is now ready for stage. And if I come back, I can see that we're in QA, we're ready to go to stage, and I'm basically orchestrating that with Exebia Labs. So as a developer, I could assign this process to myself, or if I was the coordinator, I could do that, and I could do my testing in this particular stage and go to completion and say, you know, my testing is complete, and click complete. Then Exebia is going to take over and go do the next particular task, which is to promote that code up to the next level. And if I come over to ISPW and do a refresh, I can see that the code has been moved up to stage. Now both components are there, and it's ready to be migrated to production at this point. So now I would do my testing in QA. And again, I would put any testing notes. Click on complete, and again, Exebia will pick up and take over and then go through the next set of steps for the promotion to prod. Now we can see that Exebia has paused, and if we go over to ISPW and click on our refresh, we can see they're now in staging, and if we go over to the status, we can see that there's an approval required before we can move our code into production. So here we have a number of ways to do approvals. We can click on the task and say view approvals and do it this way, or directly up in the lifecycle flow, we can right click on the little box next to that stage and say approve. Once that approval is done, we go back to Exebia, and it's polling back, waiting for a response from ISPW through the APIs to know that that approval has been completed. And once that confirmation has been received, then we'll see Exebia kick back in and promote our code up to the production level. So Exebia will poll every few seconds, and now I can see that that approval was accepted, and that my entire Exebia XLR script has been completed as well. And if I come back over to ISPW and click on the refresh and click on one of my items, I can now see that my code has successfully moved to production through integration with Jenkins, Sonar, and Exebia Labs. So through the use of our REST APIs, we were able to show that a developer could make their changes. We could go directly into our CI tool and kick off a pipeline, and that pipeline could manage using the APIs doing quality scans and functional testing, and even regressions if necessary, if quality gates weren't met. And then through Exebia Labs, completing through our APIs, more testing steps and migration all the way to production. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Janet and for Q&A.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Richard. Just a reminder to please fill out the survey before the end of the broadcast and be entered into that American Express gift card drawing. There's going to be 3 winners. Also, for those of you on the line, as I was monitoring some of the questions coming in, there was some difficulties with audio and visual, so I just want to remind everybody on the presentation that we will be sending out the replay at the end of the broadcast. But hopefully you'll stay on, and we'll move to Q&A with Steve, Richard, and Greg.
Okay, thanks, Janet. So we have one question from Thomas Westfall from PNC Bank. The question is, can this application run on the IBM x86 application? Or which one does it run on, really? Who would like to take this question and answer it?
So I can answer that. So ISPW and Compuware's mainframe tools in general run on our D&T boxes. So yes, that's definitely possible.
Thank you. Next question from Verizon. Will integrating Jenkins will increase MIPS usage?
No, it should not increase your MIPS usage at all, because your Jenkins typically will be running on a server and shouldn't impact your mainframe MIPS.
Okay. Another question from Wipro. What is the feature tool used for automated analysis just after code promotion?
So that integration was with SonarQube. SonarQube is a very widely used tool in the industry that will do quality and metrics on code, various types of code. So our example was with SonarQube.
Thank you, Greg. Next question is, if the build fails and it has to fall back to dev environment, is the defect open for tracking purposes?
The answer is, in our example, no, but there's no reason that could not be automated to go to a Jira or a ServiceNow. That is very doable, but in our example, we did not open a defect when on our regression.
Thank you. Another question from Pacific Life. I thought Jenkins had the ability to do automated deployments. What is the value added by Exebia here? Also, what version of Topaz were you using in the presentation, and was it on AWS? So multiple questions here in one.
So I'll take the first part of that question. So yes, Jenkins can, through ISPW, automate different actions such as promotion and deployment. The value that Exebia brings in is in higher level environments, there's often a lot more orchestration that needs to occur a more complex product process with integration points into things like ServiceNow, etc. So Zebia allows you to really easily coordinate that across different groups, some manual processes, some automated processes. So there is some overlap there, but really each tool, Jenkins and Zebia, have their strengths in different areas. Zebia is more on the more complex enterprise processes required in higher level environments, and Jenkins is great in a continuous integration environment within a more of a development environment, QA environment process.
I think we have time for a couple more, and then we'll have to close.
Okay, so there's another one here from CSG. Can REST API be enabled on the 3270 ISPW platform, or are they only available through the GUI version of ISPW?
I can also answer that. So the REST APIs are part of the web components of ISPW. So they are required. There's a required component to be installed that can be installed on the mainframe or on distributed servers. It isn't tied to the GUI part of ISPW per se, but it is a component that is required to be installed to use REST APIs.
Okay, thank you. One last question here from John Sexton. Can unit tests be developed and submitted to Expediter from Topaz Workbench without Topaz for total tests?
There is debugging you can do with Expediter within its functionality, but the actual unit testing capabilities and functionality is with Topaz Total Test. It is actually built on the Expediter framework, but that particular component is required for the unit testing functionality.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Richard, and thanks, Steve. A lot of good questions came in, and due to the time, we don't want to go over. So for those questions that we didn't have a chance to answer, we will definitely get back with you directly. So please feel free to keep submitting even after the broadcast is closed, and we'll reach out directly to you with an answer. And again, please feel free to fill out that survey. It will help us develop on tools that will help you succeed in your career. And with that, I'd like to thank you for attending today's broadcast. We hope to see you on our March 22nd What's New webcast. And with that, have a great day.